Okay, this video is called American Institutions, and what I really want to share with you here is, I'm an old guy. I know I look younger than I am, but I'm really 62 years of age, and I have seen America really go down the tubes. America used to be a very rich country, a very Christian country, just sort of a beautiful, magnificent country, by far the best country in the entire world, and we thought that way too. When I was young growing up, we're Americans. We're the best. Communists are pieces of crap. And I went to Europe when I was around 1980, when I was a young man. And I remember we were in England, and they were so poor. I thought these pathetic fucking British people, they're such a bunch of socialist losers. All the men were physically weak. They had bad teeth. My brother and me are great athletes. All three of my brothers are great athletes. We're all star athletes, all right? Like my brother is currently a world champion athlete. They would stand around and watch us, all these British guys, because they never seen such muscular young men as myself and my brothers, and we would eat so much food. And we remember thinking, we went to the so-called rich hotel in England, the Buswell by Hyde Park, and it was a piece of crap. The elevators didn't work well. You had to use a shared bathroom at the end of the hallway. We're like, this is crappier than a Motel 6 in the United States, and it's the big shot, classy hotel in England. So what I'm trying to say is, England sucked back in 1980, and now it's a third world disaster. But what I'm saying is America is following down that same path. And the reason this is happening is because the super rich of the world have decided that the world's overpopulated. They need to depopulate it, get rid of the Christians. And they're doing it by turning all these Christian countries into third world crap holes. And one of the things they're doing is we're shifting from being a Christian primary country into being run on atheistic Darwinism. Anybody who's a ruler prefers atheistic Darwinism over Christianity because there's no longer checks and balances on them. And they're destroying all the American institutions. It goes from top to bottom. It's sort of like if you're going to start a war, you first have to dehumanize your opponent. So they'll say, whoever it is a homicidal maniac, and we must act preemptively to stop them. Okay, that's the usual thing. And so what's been happening is the white Christian population in the United States has been demonized because they want to get rid of them first because they're the ones that speak the strongest to try to preserve freedom. And they figure the rest of them are all either weak, or there's not that many of them, or they're stupid, or they can buy them off, they're corrupt, so they don't take them too seriously. It's only the white Christian men in particular. They think all the women are stupid and kind of a joke and they'll be easy to handle. But the white Christian man, they feel he is the one who pushed for freedom in 1776, and he's still doing it now, and we must get rid of him. Okay, so all of this stuff is primarily designed to get rid of him because they figure all the rest of them, we'll make them into slaves, we'll bump them off, we'll do whatever we want with them later, okay? All right, so anyway, so where does this come from? It just goes right from as soon as the person's even born. These formulas, if you look at them closely, they're really toxic for the babies. They only give the mother 3 months off from work. They want that baby as quick as possible put into preschools, kindergartens, grade schools where they can start brainwashing and conditioning them, dumbing them down, turning them into little atheist communists, okay? And the destruction of the institutions, it's diffused through America. Look at the museums. I can remember when I was a kid, I'd go to the Art Institute of Chicago. There was some beautiful art. My parents were pretty cultured, sophisticated people. My mom was a tour guide at the Art Institute, so she knew all this art, and she showed me these beautiful books. My father, too. They were magnificent. So I grew up thinking art was magnificent. I wish they would have given me drawing classes when I was young. I wish I had been wise enough and had that feeling. But anyways, I saw all this magnificent art when I was young. Now I see these art museums full of modern art, which is crap. Okay, it's garbage. Modern art is all fake, 100% fake. It's not even like 10% good. It's 100% fake. And they tried to pretend that it's an extension of Fresh Impressionism. No, it's not. It's fake crap. It's used for laundering, and it's also just an insult and a disgrace to the country. And the institutions, they're all bad. Look at the water company that's supposed to purify your water. I remember hearing people say, oh, Chicago water is good. No, it's not. It's like these other tap waters in most places. They've got fluoride in them, which is rat poison, a brain toxin, causes infertility, toxic to the gut, toxic to the collagen, causes brain damage, lowers IQ. Aluminum lowers IQ, causes brain damages, causes leaky gut. These are poisons. It's rat poison, okay? That's in your water. That's just a story. Oh, it's good for your teeth to get all the chumps to accept it. So what I'm trying to say is this destruction of the institution goes from top to bottom. Hollywood. There used to be lots of heroic, good men in Hollywood. I remember looking up to all these guys. Charlton Heston in the Ten Commandments, John Wayne, heroic figure, Chuck Connors, the rifleman, Bing Crosby, Merry Christmas, Elvis singing gospel songs, Father Patrick Payton praying the rosary, It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart, Gary Cooper at High Noon. These were heroic, good men showing good role models for young guys to admire. And it went on for a long time. Clint Eastwood, Chuck Connors, Father Knows Best TV shows, movies like General Patton, Miracle on 31st Street, Sylvester Stallone, all the Rocky movies, the Rambo movies, Mel Gibson with Braveheart, with Patriot. It was great stuff. I loved all that stuff. And the comedies were magnificent too. Animal House, Trading Places, Stripes with Bill Murray, Caddyshack with Rodney Dangerfield. We loved all that stuff. We had so much fun. I had such a great childhood and youth. And all that stuff. We loved it. We'd memorize all the lines. We'd watch those movies 10, 20 times. Okay, so anyways, now the movies are all, lefty, pinko, commie, airhead, and they try to celebrate homosexuality. Two guys want to be with each other. Let them go be with each other. Who cares? But that's not some heroic act, okay? They try to promote all that type of stuff because it doesn't produce babies and because they want to destroy heterosexual Christian marriage and destroy the family. They already did that to a large extent by making divorce so easy to obtain and favoring the woman so much that when a woman has her inevitable emotional temper tantrum with her menstrual cycle, they'll destroy their family. I've been amazed at how women just destroy their families on the flip of a coin, and they can't fix it later. They can't, Humpty Dumpty couldn't put it back together again. The schools have all been destroyed, all the public schools. They're worthless. You want to get your kids out of the public schools. What do? They brainwash them. They try to trick them on their gender and castrate them. They try to label them as attention deficit. Don't let your kid go for psych testing. They'll label your kid attention deficit and then try to poison them with these amphetamines. It's all insane. All psych meds cause brain damage. They're all bad. Psychiatry is a fake field, okay? Psychology is a fake field, as I said in another video. They can't even tell you the difference between a man and a woman. How are they going to give you relationship advice? They don't know what a good role model is, what good art is, what a good book is. They're fake, okay? They're just puppets of a corrupt leftist system to destroy families, okay? They want kids to snitch on their parents, do your parents, whatever. They try to get kids to do that in the public schools. It's amazing. I read some books about that. It's amazing how evil they are. Okay, these schools have their own psychologist who tries to get kids to snitch on their parents so they can cause trouble for the parents. It's awful. Or even take children away from their parents. The church has been largely destroyed. It's still standing, but the organized church is very weak right now. It's been corrupted by an excessive number of homosexuals and pedophiles. It's castrated by 503 tax exemption laws, so they can't say anything interesting. And that's why men don't want to go to church, because it's all these low IQ homosexual pedophile alcoholics, talking nonsense, afraid to say anything interesting. Noble masculinity needs to exert more influence in the country. It has been deliberately the country feminized because women in general compared to men are weak and will cave in. All a woman sort of cares about at the end of the day is her children in general. What I have seen is as long as they feel their children are safe in the immediate moment, women will cave in for a lot more than a man will. A man will say, that's bullshit. You don't castrate children. I don't care about your gender affirming bullshit. You don't castrate children. Whereas women allow that. Look at all these female teachers. They allow this to happen. Why isn't there a giant outcry on TV? Why isn't there a giant outcry about kids being poisoned with amphetamines for attention deficit? Okay? Once it gets the cover of respectability through the so-called experts at the big universities, they let it happen. The Boy Scouts were systematically destroyed on purpose because they were good. I was a Boy Scout when I was young. It was a good organization. Okay? I see it all over. You look at politics, what do you see on the left? You see typically they'll get some minority, they'll either get some intelligent evil person or they'll get some minority affirmative action person who is mediocre and stupid, and they will just use them as a puppet and get them to turn against their own people, their own co-ethnics, their own co-religionists, because what they'll do is they find people who are amoral. Often they look for people who they can blackmail, people who are homosexual with a transvestite relationship or something else they can blackmail with, or they'll take them, to the island of, the guy who the people have been talking a lot lately, or something like that. Somebody who's in a compromised position so they can blackmail and control them as a puppet. Okay, we see that all the time. Look at research, American research. We used to think we were the real country for science, and now American research is kind of like a joke. Whenever you say the word research, you put it in quote marks because you know it's paid for. I like somebody show me the trick of when you write the word science, corporate science, you spell it with the S, like the dollar sign for the S for science, and that's what it is. Hollywood is now just disgusting. Look at Sean Puffy Combs and all his craziness. Okay, look at all the stuff about adrenochrome. Totally anti-Christian, anti-family, anti-heterosexuality, which is like the normal thing ever since the beginning of time. There's a reason for that. That's what makes babies and families. Okay, the hospitals have been degraded as they become more and more atheistic. They're doing millions and millions of abortions, killing all these babies. The women are brainwashed into this feminist nonsense that comes from Satanism to want to kill their babies, okay? Divorce their husbands, be promiscuous, and it's disgusting, okay? I seen on the dating apps, back when I was doing that before I found my girlfriend, endless numbers of these fat women with all these ugly piercings and tattoos. I'm like, oh, these women are so disgusting. And then I can remember when I had read Tocqueville about women in the 1800s in the United States. He went on and on about how magnificent American women were. They're so Christian. They're so religious. They're so good with their families. Nowadays, when I think of a woman in America, I think of all these women, 80% of divorces filed by women destroying their marriages. Like myself and my friends seeing these women who just destroyed their families for no reason. The guy's like, what the hell? We had a family. Why'd you do that? And they're just destroying their families, and they don't really have good reasons. I know a bunch of families where the woman just had a temper tantrum, destroyed her family, and it's like, what the hell? I mean, it's not always the woman's fault. I do know some families where the guy left the woman, like for a younger woman. I have seen that too. Okay, let's see, what else? Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. Most of the institutions have been destroyed. The public schools, they hide the history of Christianity. They hide the history of the greatness of America. America's the greatest country ever founded in the history of the world. We have the best founding fathers. Ayn Rand pointed this all out. Ayn Rand, I love Ayn Rand because she did so many good things. Even though she was a little bit crazy, a little bit of a bitch, yeah, I know that. I know there's plenty of things you can complain about her. But she did her homework. She did her reading on literature. She did her reading on capitalism. Capitalism, Christianity, and the Constitution, that's where freedom comes from. And everybody wanted to move to all the Western Christian countries. And now the Western Christian countries, like Ann Coulter had said, if you bring the third world here, you turn the place into the third world. Let people gradually come and they assimilate. When I was growing up, we all just said, America is a melting pot, and you become an American. Like Teddy Roosevelt has said, I don't want any hyphenated Americans, okay? They just use that word African Americans to try to throw a guilt trip at white people, okay? The Irish have gotten the crap beat out of them much worse and much longer than they're being currently actively genocided. They're bussing in all these Muslims and other persons who hate the Irish to kill the Irish people. That's what's happening right now. And where's the protest? People say, oh, we love the Irish. Bullshit. The Irish are being, aggressively sided, and no one is helping them. And I was really disappointed that RFK and Trump haven't done more to help them. They did a little bit to help the people in South Africa. Why don't you save the Irish? Okay? Anyways, it goes on and on in the public schools. The education's fake. Pre-med education in the colleges is all fake. All you learn, like for example, I took a full year, 2 semesters of organic chemistry. To become a doctor, all you need to know is the functional groups in organic chemistry, a little bit about reaction mechanisms, but not much. You can learn everything you need to know in a month, 2 months at the most. Instead, you spend a full year memorizing different ways to synthesize paint. It's pretty stupid, okay? And you're just memorizing. You're not really developing in-depth understanding of anything useful. Let's see, what else? So I'm making the point that either America is going to get back its Christian ethics or all this nonsense is going to continue. You can't save healthcare because you can't Christianize it. You can't give it Christian ethics. And unless you do, then everybody's always going to go for the money. If the human is only a talking monkey and you have no obligation to them, why wouldn't you take the money rather than worry about them? Okay, and that ends up going into all kinds of things. You either have man's created in the image of God, therefore he's part divine as well as part beast, therefore we must respect him, not abuse him, be fair with him, honest with him, and he deserves the right to free speech, private property, respect for his person, all these other things, to be his corpus, all this stuff. Or we become a third world place, and we're headed into that. So I hope more people realize that, because that's the only hope of saving the United States and making it a great country again. So anyways, that's where things are at.